Okay, there's two different ways. There's many
Okay,
ways to say Merry Christmas. So you could do Merry Christmas or
that's right. I was practicing.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
So
Christmas.
Merry Christmas or M with an
Okay.
Merry Christmas.
I
With
like this
M
way, right? Is
E. Merry Christmas.
that right? I'm trying. It's hard because I know you can't. I got to
Okay.
push my little camera back. Hold on. Okay, so if I do Merry.
Merry. You got it.
Okay, wait, I'm going to practice. Okay,
Awesome.
yay.
Great.
Thank,
Okay.
thank you for
I'm
teaching
going
me.
to,
It's
no
so
problem. I'm going
important.
to introduce you to the company quickly. Kelsey's on the bottom. She will be signing for me.
Hi,
Brady's
Kelsey.
on top. He will be signing for you.
Hi, Brady.
Okay, this is Karen Schaler. She is a great Christmas book author, both in Hallmark movies, and a great friend of mine.
Thank you all for being here. It means so much to me. And Kat and I, this is going to be, it's even better. It's November 1st. So I am in the holiday spirit even more.
Last, like Halloween was over yesterday, and one of the companies that work was like, "Good morning," and then she was like, "Good morning, happy birthday, Christmas."
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway,
Okay.
before we start, I want to say thank you for your flexibility and your generosity for willing to do the podcast again with my unborn teen unfortunate event of technology with Mac OS updates and backing up all the buyers and everything was gone. I was
Oh,
up for hours that night trying to figure it
oh,
out.
gross.
Google couldn't help. Apple couldn't help. They was like, what am I gonna
I
do?
know it's so,
So my Hallmark fund was like, let's see if the recovery program will help before you reach out to them. I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, too late. I already reached out to them because I know them and they have big hurt. So new answer, thank you. We'll get the date to do soon. And Andrew was like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened. Of course we can do this again. So on the bottom of my heart and the people out there who are my band, my friends, your band, thank you for the second chance at the Cast Chat podcast tonight.
well, I am so excited to do it and I'm honored to be here. And you know that I love you and I love your audience. So anything we can do. And, technology, it is, it challenges us so much. And I think sometimes the best thing to do is just let it go and redo it and it will be even better. And so I'm so grateful that this worked out for all of us and your wonderful interpreters because it is this way we can reach as many people as we want to reach tonight. And it really takes all of us, being committed to doing this. And I'm honored to do this, Kat. So let's talk Christmas.
Christmas. Okay.
I wore my sparkles. Did you see? I'm wearing glitter.
Yeah, of course. Sparkles.
Of course.
Okay. Again, I want to talk about your new Christmas book that we have here every day in Christmas. Like all the way back, like how did you get into writing and what is so special about Christmas to you that incorporated in all of your book? And books become Hallmark movies on Hallmark on Netflix.
And Lifetime. This little baby is a Lifetime
definitely
movie.
Lifetime.
It's hard, and I always say I'm an equal opportunity writer. And so the short version for people just tuning in, what I've done, Kat said it so beautifully. I've written 4 movies for Netflix, Hallmark, and Lifetime. And starting with the Netflix hit A Christmas Prince. And we'll talk about that later because that really launched me into the screenwriting world of Christmas. And it's a funny story of how I wrote it thinking it was going to Hallmark and it ended up going to Netflix. And it just shows Christmas magic. You never know what's going to happen. Then I decided a little bit backwards that I wanted to write the book versions, as many as I could, and write books that could also be made into movies, which is what we usually see. 90%, 95% of that situation, there'll be a beautiful book that has been adapted into a movie. But in my case, I wanted to write the movie first in the book, and then I have some books behind me where I thought, well, I'm not the boss of how many movies are bought, but I can write as many books as I can. So I'm so excited. And I love your first question of how did all this start? Oh, and I shouldn't forget, because last year was a really big year for me, because I also did my first Christmas audio project. I'm telling people, so when they're listening, they'll have to stay tuned, because if you love Hallmark, which everyone does, then you know Ryan Pavey, and you also know he has one of the best voices, I believe, in the industry. So when I was asked to do an Audible project, it's called an Audible Original. And it's not, all of these books are audiobooks that you can get, right? You're used to that, where there's one narrator usually. But in this case, it was like a Christmas movie where we had a full cast. And I got to be, take some producer roles, not just writing roles, where I got to suggest who would be the best narrators. And I had just met Ryan Pavey at what Kat is wearing, Rama Drama. I had met him on the first Rama Drama in Nashville. And not only do I love his work, like we all do, but if, ladies and gentlemen, if we have listened to his voice, and for those of you that can't hear, let me try to explain. It's like warm liquid chocolate on a cold
Ryan Pavey movie, the Mr. Dusty movie. I turned the volume all the way up, and I'm quiet for a moment. Let him speak. And I turned the mic.
Yeah. But it's just rich and deep. It's very deep and rich. Yes, it's rich and deep and amazing, and it just has this comfort, and I'll be honest, a little sexy, because it's that deep, rich voice. So I was very blessed that I asked him if he'd be involved in my first Audible project. He said yes. And then I had a top Audible artist. She's won Audies, which is kind of like the Emmys, or the Oscars in the different worlds, film and television world. So I'm so blessed to have that. But the reason I'm here talking about, I'm in the 3 different genres. My background is not in writing movies, it's not in writing books, and it's not in writing audio. I started out, which is to answer Kat's first question, I always wanted to be a writer. So when I was a little girl, my mom I know Kat loves this story and everyone loves this story. My mom's kind of shy. I am not shy. I think you already know that. I am pretty outgoing. I love people. I was an only child. So I think a lot of only children have this story where you become storytellers. You make up stories, whether it's your dolls or your trucks. You have to live in your own world. You don't have brothers and sisters to play with, so you create these imaginary worlds. At least that was my experience. So my mom tells this story when I was 2 years old. We were in the grocery store, and the little kids, how you sit in a little grocery basket. And she's going through the aisles, and a lady stopped my mother when she was getting into the checkout and said, talking about me, my little darling self, said, does she ever stop talking? And my mom, because apparently I was just chattering away all through the grocery aisles, as I did. And my mom, looked at the woman and said, only in her sleep. So people ask, when did I start being a writer? My mom will tell you that I started not just talking, but I started telling stories. My mom and dad were both school teachers, and they knew the importance of reading. So from the very early age, I was being read to and read stories. So of course, I wanted to make those stories. She'd finish a book, one of those picture books, when you're 2 or 3 years old, and I would continue. And also people know me, they're laughing because they know I like to talk, but I would find more of the story, and I always wanted to tell it. When I got a little older, I'd stand on a table, and it would be like, you'd put on plays for your parents. But in my case, I'd stand up and I'd tell stories. I'd go to a restaurant and I would see a couple or kids, and I would tell stories about them. I bet you they came from Alaska and they were on Santa's sleigh and they did this. I've been creating stories I don't remember not. And one of the things I tell people, and I don't think people do this enough anymore, including myself, because I, am addicted to my cell phone like everybody is, but I used to write in journals. And it was so funny because I found one, Kat, when I was home recently. And it was a Dear Diary, for those of you of a certain age that might know what I'm talking about. These cute little ones with a little locket. Right? I'm totally dating myself here. There's probably a Dear Diary app on phones that 20-year-olds are going, okay, I know that. I have no idea, what you're talking about. but it's an actual book. It has a little lock, and starting in third grade, I started writing in it, and it's this big, awkward writing. And I remember I wrote, there was a guy, I think his name was Billy, and it would be like, I can't wait to get to school to see Billy. I like Billy. And then like you flip a couple pages, like Billy's talking to Shelley. I don't like Billy, you know, I'm mad at Shelley. And then it was like,
That
you know,
sounds a lot like my diary. So yeah, yeah.
Very simple stories. But that's this now as an adult, looking back at these little cute entries, there were details. And a lot of kids didn't do that, where I would say, I'm wearing this outfit, or Mrs. So-and-so is doing this. And I had a lot of details. And they say that sort of as a writer, you start imagination and creating and doing all of that. So my mom, like I shared, was a school teacher. She still does, reads a book every day, doesn't finish a book, but there's not a day that she's not reading. Her mother, my grandmother, lived to 104. And she loved books, and libraries were very important in our world. I just did a library event. I'll tell you about it later because it had a Christmas camp aspect to it. And it was just so magical. It's kind of where I feel the most at home. And I want all children to have access to books. I grew up not with a lot, and so libraries were very important for me to be able to have books. My mom still goes to the library. My grandma, and when she was in her 90s, was a bookbinder. So she would work on the spines and she'd volunteer. And so libraries were like that magical place you could go to whatever was happening in your life. You could pull a book out, you could sit down, and you could just disappear, and you could escape into that world. And that really was so impactful to me. So I think I never didn't want to be a storyteller. And I thought I'd be an author. You know, this is when I was like 8 years old. I was like, I'm going to be an author. My mom and everyone's always reading a physical book. So of course, but I got into a class in high school, and it was a creative writing class. And I'll never forget this, just it impacts so much. This also dates me because there was no spell check or anything like that. But I had written this essay and I got A's for everything, creativity, dialogue, all of these things. And I was just little, but I ended up getting a D. And I was a straight A student, so I was very competitive with myself. A D because I'd missed 3 or 4 commas. Now I am, for those of you grammar people out there, I understand how important commas are and it changes the meaning, but I'm 8. And I did not understand why this grammar was so important when I had come up with this very special story that I got all this good accolades for. So I decided I didn't want to be a print writer because I was never going to get that right. I was never going to get my commas. And I was disenchanted. Then I was watching TV and I saw these news reporters and I'm like, they're standing up there every day telling a story, but they're not writing it down. They're not getting yelled at for not having commas. So at a very young age, I switched. I think I was 9 or 10 when I picked my college, which was Cal State Fullerton, because they had a great communications, broadcast journalism, meaning TV reporter. I also wanted to see the world. My grandma, again, remember, we didn't have a lot. My grandpa was a school bus mechanic. My grandma was stay home with her 2 kids, but she clipped coupons. She had the wanderlust to travel. Whatever she did, she'd send me postcards. I would just like save those postcards and want to go to places. So I was smart enough, even as a very young kid, to know I haven't been anywhere. I'm from a small town. How am I going to write stories? So I decided I'd be a reporter. In my mind, I wanted to be a foreign correspondent. I wanted to be National Geographic. I wanted to take pictures and do that. I saved the National Geographics. The libraries, when they got old, they'd throw them away and I would get them. So I was like, awesome. And so that's what I thought I'd be. And then that came into a photojournalist, went into like on air TV, and which is what I did. And so I spent before doing this, I spent almost 15 years as a television correspondent. I did travel, although not so sexy. I lived in small markets in America. So I lived in 16 states. So I was from Washington State, California for college, and then Montana, Idaho, Minnesota, South Dakota, Utah, Massachusetts, Texas. Where did I go? Then I think I went Texas twice, like a small market, and then Dallas finally, Boston. So I I'm sure I'm missing some. I bopped all over the country. I learned to ice fish in Minnesota, and that you had to plug in your car because it was so cold. I'm like, what is with that? Mosquitoes the size of state birds. I learned so much living in all the places. South Dakota, I was near the Black Hills of South Dakota, Mount Rushmore. There's just everywhere I went as a reporter, I learned. So I was gathering stories, just gathering. And to the last part of your question about why Christmas, The story that I love to tell, and sometimes I forget to tell it, that I have Christmas in my blood, literally. When I was on the Today Show, they nicknamed me Christmas Karen. And they actually said the nickname had been out there, but they really, when you're on the Today Show and they put it up on the screen, it kind of sticks with the millions of viewers. And it was an honor, but I also kind of was like, wow, this is a big responsibility to have Christmas anywhere attached to my name. But they said, and it's true, that it's in my blood. So remember, I'm an only child, so the family tree is pretty small. But if you go back several generations, my great great aunt, the family name, the last name was Day, Day. And so when she had the next child, there were so many kids. Yes, there were so many kids that she told the kids that they could name the baby. And the baby was born on Christmas Day. So the kids, being kids, said, let's name her Mary, Merry, middle name Christmas, last name Day. So she was legally named Merry Christmas Day, born on Christmas, and she was put in one of the very first Ripley's Believe It or Not. So, way back in the day. So literally, Kat, Christmas is in my blood. Also, my birthday is a week before Christmas. So I feel like all the good stuff happened this time of year. And even as a child, when you don't have a lot, you realize this is when people come together. This is when people are the nicest. This is when people are making yummy food. This is when people are decorating and there's twinkle lights. So a lot of people think that of the Christmas movies I write and the books and the audio stories, that I must have had the most magical childhood, because I write, a lot of people say they feel like if they're reading a book, that they feel like they're living in a Christmas movie. And we'll talk about that later, how I actually created an event where you do live in a Christmas movie. For those of you that love Christmas movies, I decided to make that a real thing that you can do. And it's really came from a place that I didn't have that background. It was just me and my mom. We didn't have enough money. I remember one year we couldn't get a tree. So just like Charlie Brown, I took a branch from a tree and I wrapped a blanket around it. So, it was kind of bleak some years. And I dreamed of Christmas, the magical Christmas. As I got older, I watched, just like all of us, I watched those Hallmark movies, and they brought me comfort and they brought me joy. And I dreamed of having that world. And then when I got, old enough, and we'll talk about how I went from, I was a war correspondent. So in my journey, I also went to CNN. That was when I, moved my way from Montana, Idaho, Minnesota. I got all the way to CNN. I was a White House correspondent. And I also was embedded with troops. And when I actually was in local affiliates, I was the first journalist in the world embedded with troops in Bosnia with the Army. And then in Afghanistan, I was the first journalist in the world embedded with a combat Apache helicopter unit out of Arizona. So I won my Emmys covering doing documentaries that I produced and wrote. And so that's where 2 of my Emmys came from. I'm really proud of that work. And all of it, the journalism all kind of comes together where I took real life experiences, people I met, stories I met. I went to Bosnia right before Christmas. I actually delivered letters to soldiers from home, because this was in the 80s. The 90s, where we were just doing the internet, but, especially military didn't have access depending on where you were at. So family literally gave me Christmas letters to find the soldiers and deliver the soldiers. I still think this would be a great story. Someday I should tell the story. I just need to add a romance in there. That did not happen, but we can make things up. But I always said that I write the stories I write because it's what I wanted to have in my life. And I'm so grateful. And I wanted to give back, specifically at the time it was Hallmark, but a lot of people forget Lifetime started with Christmas. Lifetime first had the Christmas movies, not Hallmark. Then they gave it up. And I always say they went dark and twisty. Hallmark grabbed it and became what you now know as just the juggernaut of Christmas. And then Lifetime jumped back in, Netflix, Apple. Now everybody's in the Christmas mix because they've seen, I like to say, we all do it because we see the joy. They do it, let's be honest, because it makes them a lot of money because people love them, and I'm sure I can't speak for any of them. They have their own reasons. But yeah, and that's the first question is always the longest, because I think it's important that people see the whole trajectory and then we go from there. So thank you for asking that question and letting me have extra time to share a little bit about my background and kind of how it all happened.
Not a problem. It's just I really appreciate it. It really gets me to know how to start in with your writing when it's like I'm gonna be an author and then no, I'm not gonna do the grammar kind of stuff. I'm gonna become a reporter. But while you were talking about that, I was thinking, reporters don't want to do some kind of grammar, but they don't write. So when they talk and they pause, that's the comma right there.
Yes.
No, with the pause and with the way the flow, how they report things, and stuff, that they do some grammar, but they don't write it. But I'm just like you. I mean, I feel like I have a big family, so um wait a minute. Yeah, I would say my mom's side and my dad's side are full of educators, writers, teachers, um, business management, that kind of stuff. So, and like you said, when I was maybe I would say fifth, fourth, or fifth grade, I'm gonna be an actor. I'm gonna be a teacher. I'm gonna be an artist. All of that. So growing up, what are you gonna be? What do you want to be when you grow up? High school, college. I'm gonna be a teacher. What about after writer? I'm like, maybe that would be a freelance kind of job or a side hobby or that kind of thing. I'm very creative. I wrote a lot of short stories in high school, college, poetry, and I'm currently trying to finish up a personal children's book that was retold based on my late grandmother's story that she told me and my brothers and sisters growing up. And then when my kids were born and when she was still around, she would carry on that story. And then when she thought she had Alzheimer's and dementia, so her health and her mind went away. So I started carrying on the story when my daughter and my son were young. So I'm trying to get all of that into a very simple children's book by me with my ascendant story, but originally told by my grandmother. And I have two other stories that are in the work, but you gotta get my butt in gear and finish it so I can find someone to illustrate it and then figure out how to publish it, probably through Amazon, because it's not gonna be anything big, but I'll get it out there, just like I did with my podcast. So small and
Absolutely.
then branch it out there. So
And I just want to say, Kat, I'm so proud of you because when I met you, you talked about doing a podcast, but I mean, you're busy. You're a teacher, you're a mom, you got so much going on. And a
yeah.
lot of people ask me, like, how was I able to write movies? And I had 4 Christmas movies in 3 years and 3 novels. Even when I say it, I'm like, that doesn't seem right. Is that right? But I have secrets and tips for people if they're watching. And I know that you've done some of this. And one of them is I should back up a tiny bit because I want to remember to say this because you heard how I jumped in and I haven't even talked about how I broke into the business, but just like I do everything, I jumped in fearlessly. I have no fear. People can say no, I don't care. I just move on. I've had no my whole life. So it's kind of a blessing to kind of have the school of hard knocks because I'm not a princess. I'm not precious. I'm like, whatever, I'll just try harder. I'll try, I'll learn. As a reporter, you're learning every day and you're becoming better so you can be better for your viewers. And that's how you are as a writer or a communicator, a teacher, or any of that. But I took what's called Entertainment Business School. It's EBS. It's a new program. And it's a woman who is a screenwriter. She worked with Gary Shandling. She's a producer and executive. And she realized she specifically started it originally, if I'm telling her story correctly, for young, people coming out of college. We all know the writing side, but what about the business side, which is even more important when it comes to protecting yourself? And, because creatives, we'll do it for free. We're so happy. We love it. We just want to share. And so I took a course with her and it was life-changing. And so we call it the wolf pack because she says the lone wolf in Hollywood eats alone, that you need your wolf pack. You always hear about you need your people, you need to have someone have your back, and Hollywood's a rough place. And, the reason I share this is we were talking about all that you do and how you were able to start because you were like, okay, I have a podcast, but I have a million things to do. I didn't even mention, I went from hard news from the war to doing a travel show. And I have that website. It's traveltherapytrips.com. And I trademarked travel therapy because I use travel as my therapy, just like I use Hallmark movies as my therapy, right? And so I'd come out of these hard things and I wanted to escape. They all have escapism in there. And so, doing that and, figuring out how, I was going to I've been to 68 countries and picking places based on what you're going through in life. If you're stressed, go here or what have you. So people are like, how are you doing a travel show, living in Manhattan? And how did you just randomly write your first Christmas movie? Because you're flat out, with what, and I was. And how do you start a podcast when you have a busy life? How do you write the novel that if you're listening going, yeah, I have a story, but I'm busy, I barely can breathe as it is. And what I told the class, the EBS class, and this was back in March, I said, I write before the world gets in the way. And there's only one way for me to do that. There's really two ways, but I write in the morning. So if I normally get up at 7, I started getting up at 5. And actually, Randall Wallace, who you can look up on IMDb, that's a database that tells all your movies and books and stuff. I interviewed him when I was still a TV reporter. And he is an Oscar, he has done everything. He's a writer, a director. He did a lot with Mel Gibson, like Braveheart, We Were Soldiers, some of those iconic movies. But he writes books and novels. And when he was telling me what he did, I was just, I'm a news reporter still. I'd always wanted, remember that little girl had always wanted to write novels and then specifically movies as I got older. And I'm leaning in. And I remember he kind of turned the interview on me because I'm interviewing him. And he said, well, what would you want to do, if you weren't a reporter? And I'd always wanted to be a reporter. But without thinking, I said, and then I said, oh, well, I'm doing, he goes, well, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And that's a totally different answer, and it came out without thinking. I'm like, exactly what you're doing. He's like, do it. I'm like, yeah. I'm thinking to myself, here's this Hollywood hotshot makes millions of dollars. I'm barely, struggling. This is a career I picked when I was 10. I gave up everything. I left home at 17 to do this career. I can't just go write movies, or write a novel. And so I think I said that to him. I'm like, well, yes, that'd be great. And he goes, you just have to ask yourself, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? So I wrote that down, and it took me about 4 years till I did it. Till when one day I was traveling and I had a doctor appointment and I battle skin cancer, like basal cell, but pretty serious. It's invasive. So when I get a little dot, it's like a scar this big. And one of them was down my face, top of my head. Then I can't travel for 2 or 3 weeks. I literally can't move. I can't lift luggage or do anything. And so the first time I had it, and I don't talk about this very often, but the first time I had it is when I wrote A Christmas Prince. Because I literally was watching Hallmark movies and going, I've always wanted to write one of these. And we'll talk about that later, how, if you'd like, the process of how you start and all of that. Then I had another skin cancer the next year, and that's when I wrote Christmas Camp, which was a Hallmark movie. So I'm all about turning adversity into positive, to fuel, because that's where I come from. But back to Randall Wallace, I said, this is what I'm doing. And I said, what's your process? And, your writing process, just like you're interviewing me, Kat. I asked him that question. And he said, he is most creative in the morning. And I'm listening, thinking, I am too, quietly in my head. And then he said, I get up in the morning, I have my computer right there. I don't get dressed. I don't do coffee. I don't check email or my phone. I literally get out of bed. I sit and I write fast and furious for a couple hours. Then I start getting tired because that's all that's in me. I go back to bed where you're in that half sleep, but ideas are still percolating, even though he's half asleep. He gets up, he does another hour or so, then he's done. And he said he kind of forces himself to go to breakfast so he can be around people. And then he goes and starts, he has a production company and does a million other things. Then he goes into his world because he says he has to write before the world gets in the way. And I don't know if he used those exact words, but that's how I translated it to myself. So I'm like, I get up at 4:45 in the morning. And that's before, when my dad has been sick the last few years, I have to, caregive for him. Okay, I'm going to get up at 3 in the morning, but I'm going to do this, I'm not giving it up. So one of the women in class in this entertainment business school, which I highly recommend, if anyone's looking, you can always message me on my website and I can connect you. The instructor is very selective. She interviews you. She keeps it small, but it's really, really, really one of the most life-changing things, I think, for anyone in the entertainment business, whether you're a writer, a director, actor, whatever you might be. Specifically writing, directing, producing, though, is her focus. But I remember somebody asked, how do you do it? You're doing your show, you're hosting this, you're traveling the world. How did you write 3 movies and 2 novels in 18 months? And I told them the story that I told you. And she goes, well, can I get up too early with you? And can we Zoom? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm thinking this. And she goes, well, we can just log on and say what we're going to do. And we'll log off and come back in 2 hours. That's what we came up with. So I started it and we invited some other people in the class. We put it in the Slack, like anyone interested. And long story short, I have not missed one. I do Monday, Wednesday, Fridays ever since March. So 5 a.m. we log on, we say our intentions of what we're writing. The idea is do not get breakfast, do not answer the phone, do not check specifically don't check email because that rabbit hole will open up and swallow you up. And just this is your time to write. This is your, like if you were working on your children's book, Kat, this is your time. Or if you were working on something creative, this is it. And we have had the students that have gone through that I've met, we've had someone write an entire novel, his first novel. 2 people this week finished their TV pilots that they've been working on. So everyone's sort of amazed because they're dedicated, but what they do is their lives get in the way and then they write. And for some reason they think writing's extra. Writing's for when they have the time. But if you're a writer and you love it and you want to make it your career, you have to focus. But we all have jobs and mortgages and kids to feed and all of that. So it's really important. The only way is to carve out time for you and your writing. So that if you get anything from this podcast, let's say you're going, well, I don't want to write a book, but I've always wanted to do a craft, or I've always wanted to learn to play piano. Whatever your dream is, you have to find the time. Now, you could do this at night. I personally, at night, I'm one of those really energetic people at 5 a.m. that you want to slap because I'm like, hi, let's go. My brain is firing on all cylinders. In the evening, I calm down. People are like, yay. But I'm tired at night. I can't think creatively. And plus the world gets in your way is important to me. My characters are talking to me in the morning. I also don't multitask projects. And we'll talk about how I have not only, as you know, the book this year, but Kat, we'll talk about my very first, we call it a coloring book for grown-ups.
Yes, I was coloring book today.
Oh my gosh, wait, I want to hear about that. But oh my gosh.
I know, it took me like 2 or 3 days here and there. So today I did it. Because I need to step away from my students. They're independently working on their projects. So I'm going to independently color. So I did this. I just have to do the corners. It's really beautiful. My students asked me, can you make a copy of this picture? I'm like, if you finish your assignment, I make you a copy. So they did their work and they like they're kind of telling about to just escape and get away from us. Ask me too. Yeah.
Well, it's so funny because people say, well, how did you get all that done? But I could not work on the coloring book for an hour in the day and then go to the book. So the other thing I've learned, and there's brain science behind this, and don't quote me, I'm a little bit of a information geek because as a reporter, I research, so I always have tidbits of information. But I'm a multitasker, meaning I can have 6 projects going, but I don't work on the same 6 in the day. I finish one novel, then I do the screenplay, then I do the coloring book. I have to break it up. Now, a lot of people still have to multitask, but it takes your brain, like let's say I'm in book mode. It'll take your brain 45 minutes to an hour and 45 to switch. So even though you think I'm cool, I've switched over to the coloring book and I'm working on it. Nope, your brain isn't full functioning. It's not all cylinders. So if you really want to be focused, you'll do 2 hours on coloring book today. And then the next, later on, maybe at night, then 2 hours, I think I'll look at some coloring. There's quotes in this. So I put because I'm a writer, there's like these beautiful images, but then I wanted quotes that go with it that are Christmas quotes. So I won't look for quotes, throw some in, then write something in my novel. No. If it works for you, fantastic, because your brain is highly developed, because all the brain scientists share this like insider tip. And we'll talk about the coloring book of why I did that. But you said all the words: to relax, to escape. I was a WGA writer on strike. I'm so grateful at this current time when we're taping that we have a deal, the writers, but I'm also a member of SAG-AFTRA. I'm not an actress, but the after part, a lot of people don't know. Everyone knows SAG is all your Hallmark actors and Lifetime Netflix, all your favorite actors, your George Clooney's, your Sharon Stone. And I don't know why I said Sharon Stone, but I just saw her in something that was phenomenal. So she's in my mind. This is how my mind works, Kat. It's just all over the place in a good way, I hope. But the after part of SAG-AFTRA is, oh my gosh, I'm going to say it wrong, but it's basically the television, the TV hosts, the newscasters, that part of it. So when I was a TV reporter and anchor at NBC Boston, I joined the union. You have to when it's a union shop. And so that's how I'm in the actor portion. Now, does that mean I can't talk and promote my movies? No, because I can do that because I'm not an actor. I'm a newscaster, and the newscasters are not striking. You're still watching your newscasters. You're still seeing your Kelly Ripa on TV, and you're still, watching all of that. But I still am a proud union member. And even if I wasn't SAG-AFTRA, I would absolutely support it, because I write movies, and I don't have a movie if I don't have my actors. Right? They're everything. Now you're going to see a bunch of Christmas movies, and I just want to throw this out there, and I'm not an expert, on the legal side of it, although I have 2 entertainment attorneys, because that's, you need at least one if you're going to work in this industry. You're going to go, well, Karen, Hallmark, Lifetime, Netflix, there's more than 100 Christmas movies out. How did they make those movies when writers were on strike and actors are on strike? Well, first, the actors weren't on strike, so a lot of them got to shoot their movies prior, and I'm in the Writers Guild, so I'm a union writer. So they couldn't use the union writers, but they can use non-union writers. Now, I will say a lot of non-union writers didn't know the union worked hard. As a non-union writer, you work your whole life to get into the union. And the reason you want union is healthcare, pension, protection. If something goes sideways, which it always does in Hollywood, you want someone to have your back. So I worked so hard to get into the union. So it went out there. The union said, if we find out that you wrote during the strike, let's say you, Kat, had a Christmas movie, and you don't, you're like, okay, I'm going to sell it to so-and-so production company. If you try to get into the union, they will not let you in, because even though you are not union, they asked everybody not to write, or how do we get stuff done? So there's a lot of people that did movies that won't be able to get into the union. Now, the actor side of it, there were actors now that were on strike that got special agreements and waivers, and especially in the Hallmark world, because they're lower budget, a lot of our beloved actors were able to legally act. Now, some chose not to. I know, some, Kat, and I know some that chose, they wanted to be in solidarity and they didn't want to work. They wanted, that, and some chose to, and we're not going to judge, because both are right? If for our actors, is it hard? Oh, heck yeah. There was no paycheck this year because no one was hiring prior to the strike. And then we're in strike 5 months. I can't work. I'm not going to be paid. And then now everyone's hustling, but usually by around middle November, people disappear till the new year. Christmas movies are made, or what have you. So when I did this, it kind of came out of not just it's really a strike Christmas book is what I call it, because I said, AI was a big issue for actors. It's one of our sticking points for our actors on strike. Right.
I don't like AI.
I know. But let me tell you a story. What you don't like is what you need to research. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. So when AI first started being talked about months ago during the writer's strike, I decided to start investigating it. And I have graphic artists. So for my book, like this, Every Day is Christmas, what's special about this is this crystal ornament was in the movie. And so this was a movie first on Lifetime in 2018. You can all watch on Amazon Prime. It's a really good lesson of how the movie is like the book and the movie, and what's cut out and what's added, what's more. So is my other one, Christmas Camp. It's a Hallmark movie first and then a book. That one really shows, how much was changed. Because on this movie, I got to stay on the movie as a writer and be on set, and I got to be really involved. So everything in that movie, every word of that movie was written by me. Because guess what, it was like I was in the Canadian Union, which I did before joining, not to get into all of it, but every word was mine. So when I wrote the book, they're very similar. Christmas Camp, when I wrote this book, the Hallmark movie was being shot. It's my very first Hallmark movie. And I wrote the screenplay, but I was not union. And when you're not union, there's no guarantee that someone's going to rewrite everything. They could give it to their cousin, they could give it to the neighbor, and everything can be rewritten. And so pieces of my story, not just rewritten, not the overall story, but pieces of it, but also a lot was taken out. We had a snow scene. It was, well, guess what? Talk about behind the scenes. It was shot in July in upstate New York, and there's no snow. Now they can create snow blankets and make it look snowy, but this was a whole snow scene, like a hill and snowy. And there had been plans to shoot it, during an actual winter. That changed, everything changes. Next thing you know, that scene's being cut out. So it's a great lesson I always say, read the book first, because the book, I took the screenplay I wrote, and I wrote the book, and it's very similar. However, the screenplay got changed because that's collaboration, that's Hollywood. And the reason you write books in Hollywood, you guys, is I learned really early, if you're watching out there and you think, well, wait, they bought your screenplay, they love it because they bought it, they're going to spend a couple $1 million to make this movie. Why are they changing it? There's so many reasons. Like I said, things change, so many things happen. And if you have a problem with it, we call it precious, right? You know, if you're too precious with your story, first of all, you have no say. You sold your story. You're out. A lot of times you don't even know. We didn't know when our movie was airing. I had the director calling me, asking me if I knew. I didn't know. I didn't even know him. I never went on set. I didn't know anybody. After the script was handed in, I never heard a thing. I did get a call that my movie was airing in Canada in a real theater, which was not, nobody knew that. It was supposed to be a Hallmark movie. I was like, what do you mean it's airing? That means it's a theatrical release instead of a movie on TV. It's a totally different movie situation. So I flew up to Toronto and I saw Christmas Camp in a theater. I bought popcorn and tickets and I'm like, holy moly, what's happening? Still didn't know what was going on. And it turned out it was supposed to come on Hallmark that year, 2018, and it didn't. And we were like, wait, you know, what's going on here? Well, it turned out that they released it for Christmas in July, like they do now. They saved it for Christmas in July the following year to make that was the beginning when they were making it a big deal, and they always have a new one. So
yeah, that way long time ago. Yeah.
But we don't know, and they're very secretive, and they're secretive not because they're mean or anything, but you sign contracts for actors do, and all of us that we don't get to announce. I don't get to share on a podcast about my movie until they announce. And if you watch Hallmark, you're seeing, you know, well, all of a sudden you'll have, I'm not sure who's doing it now, probably Lacey, right? Somebody's coming on and the Christmas Queen will say, we have previews and sneak peeks. And, you know, it's the big announcement of here's our Christmas lineup. So they don't want us giving anything away. So totally, you know, it's all fair, but it's stuff you don't know when you start out. So when they say, if you are sad that you wrote a script and it gets changed a million times because your story, and you have no say, you don't even know when your movie's coming out, you know, all of these things, that's not for every production. That's just, you know, different situations. But if you're going to be problems, I remember I said to somebody, they said, when you have the millions of dollars to make the movie, you get to, or go write a book and then you're in charge because you get to pick the characters, the setting, you get to be a director, the network, the producer. So it's literally, I would not be an author today, something I remember I wanted to be since I was 10. If Christmas Camp, the first time I had a movie go to Hallmark, and I saw the changes and I was a little bummed, you know, I mean, I didn't see it till later. I heard, you know, I'm like, oh, okay. But again, it's not my movie. I've written it. They bought it. It's their movie. They can add a pink pony if flying through the sky if they want, right? It's not for me, but I love this story. Your debut story, I think, is the one that has so much of yourself in it. And so I loved it. So I thought, it's okay. Hallmark does Hallmark better than anybody. So they're going to tell my story, but I want to still tell the original story that I told. So I wrote the book, got a deal with HarperCollins, and it was supposed to come out at the same time. Even HarperCollins didn't know when the movie was coming out. It was the big mystery. Now I've learned this is very normal, but it was my first movie. I didn't know any of this stuff. So then all of a sudden I'm like, I had all these movies come out at once, and then COVID hit. So my next movie, which was this one, Finding Christmas, that one actually had Rachel Boston attached. She read it. She loved it. I love Rachel. She's just, it's funny because I don't usually
love her. I'm so excited. I think I'm going to have a chance to meet her and do something. But I'm going to be, okay. My husband
tell me how you're going to meet
it. Few weeks. My husband was gone for a few weeks taking care of his father who's fighting cancer. Not doing good. So I was alone, drunkenly, and try to keep teaching and came to home and all that stuff. And that week before my husband came home, it was like parent teacher conference week, IDP week. So I was like, I didn't want to ask them when I knew coming home. I was gonna come home, dude. You know, I just wanted to know that I'm be what the hell to go. And I'm like, it's going. I'm surviving. I started drinking again. If that's what you know how to go. He was like,
if you want a real insight, let me tell you.
Soon, I won't like, soon, but please. He was like, okay, I'll see what I could do because my aunt here, so it's kind of like a tag team thing. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna become a volunteer for Christmas time. I mean, I don't have to pay for anything. I just go there for free. Go there, volunteer, just experience myself as a volunteer, and be very wise about my professional photo op and my meet and greet and selfies. And I made a list. I was like, that's not bad compared to drama.
Right.
Hoping for like a free chit chat, free hike with Rachel, and I'm going to be like head over here when I meet Nick and Dale. She is
Oh, yeah, you
my,
love her. You've told
she
me.
is
You haven't met,
my
I thought
number
you've met
one.
her.
No, no,
Oh,
no, no. I have not met her at all, but she is my. I mean, I fell in love with her, Rachel, and Lady in Hallmark.
let
That
me
is
ask a
the
question.
more the pizza.
I want to interview you. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you love her? What movie? What connected you? There's a million beautiful,
See,
actors, but why
I
Nikki?
don't know her, but the way Andrew talked about her and Ben talked about her and their
Now
podcast,
you should say their
she
last name. When you say Andrew,
beautiful.
you should say, who are you talking
Andrew
about? You're talking about Andrew
Walker
Walker. I know
and
that, but our
Benjamin
listeners
Aries.
and
Both of
yeah.
them, they talk about Nikki. They love she and even though I don't know her, I know her from movies. I know her from her Instagram stories. I feel like I know her from Inside Out. Inside and Out. She is beautiful in the movies and at Puchin. And then Ben and Andrew were like, who's your favorite, Hallmark lady, or who do you want to meet? I was like, Nikki, she is the queen of Hallmark. It used to be Lady, it used to be Taylor, it used to be but no, Nikki is the real
Oh,
deal. So
I
I'm
love
really
that.
excited to meet her at Christmas time. I'm gonna get a selfie. I'm gonna get an autograph, and I'm gonna be bawling my eyes out when I see her. So yes, yeah,
Well, the actors, it's just like us writers. We do this for you. We do this,
right.
we live in a bubble so many times. It's going to mean so much to her because you're so eloquent. It's why we connected, because you were so real when we got to meet in person and we do a friendship. We're friends, just like you're friends with Andrew Walker now, right? People are listening to that going, oh my goodness, I love him so much. And I've been really honored to meet Andrew and his amazing wife. They're both like the salt of the
And
earth,
he talked
real
really
people.
highly about Cassandra.
Yeah.
He goes, maybe one day I'm gonna have a chance to meet her. I'm like, oh, me and the wife are gonna be best friends. So be
I
ready for
love
that.
that.
And Andrew was like, I'm like, too late. You gotta introduce me to the wife.
Exactly. Well, and that's, what's fun about this. If you guys, have seen the Hallmark movies, you'll all of a sudden see the same actors over and over and over. And sometimes they're even paired with the same love interest, right?
Yeah,
And it's fun because what I learned working in it, it's such a tiny family. You also don't want to make anybody mad because it's like
yeah.
your real family because it's very small. And it's just everyone works together over and over and over again. And it was really fun at Rama Drama when we did the one in West Palm Beach. I got to do a panel where Gabrielle and oh my gosh, why did my brain? I can see Sarah. I can see her gorgeous dark hair, and my brain just went blank for a second. I was flying before I doing this, so I'll blame it on jet lag. But they were so amazing to curate really special people. And when they asked me, they said, we like you because you're an author and you're a screenwriter. So you can talk about adapting books. You can talk about breaking in, and, as a screenwriter, as an author. And they said, who do you recommend that we bring in? And so for the author, we brought in Jenny Hale, who has done a lot of her books have been adapted to Hallmark movies. Nancy Nagel, who's now, they're personal friends of mine that I got to meet in person just
Yeah.
because you do get to meet and bond. They've helped me on my publishing journey because while I'm a screenwriter that's writing books, I didn't know about the book stuff. And because I'm with HarperCollins, but now I own my own publishing company. That means when the pandemic happened and HarperCollins wanted to pause, or all the big publishers had problems with distribution, I don't want to pause. I don't know what pause is. I don't have a comma and I don't have a pause button in my vocabulary. So I'm like full speed ahead. So I started my own company. We're not only on Amazon, but it's with Ingram Spark. And so that's how it's in Barnes and Noble. So my books are everywhere, but online. They're not as much in brick and mortar because it's so hard. And the big publishers, they buy your space. If you go to Barnes and Noble and you see a book at the end, that was a bought space from Random House or HarperCollins. It wasn't like the bookstore decided this book was special. Nope, they're for sale. So when you're an independent author and own your own publishing company, I can't compete with that money, but I'll still be on the Walmart, Target online site. So I always tell everybody, when you go to my website, which is KarenSchaler.com, and you scroll down, I also have, it's a great opportunity to tell about really quick the freebies, because and I'm going to tell you guys something that hasn't been announced yet. It hasn't even happened. I literally decided today, and because I know this will air in a couple days. But on my website, KarenSchaler.com, so it's my name, SCHALER, When you go to the homepage, you can look on top and go to books, movies, and see all that. You'll see my movie clips from A Christmas Prince. But you just scroll down a little and I put my latest projects, which of course is my Everyday is Christmas and my little coloring book. And what it is it's great because you can click on it and it'll have all, if you want to buy it at Amazon, if you want to buy it at Barnes and Noble, if you want to buy it at thrift books, which by the way, I do a lot with thrift books because they always have the best deals, on the books. They do great. Keep an eye on them for sure. And there's everything from Kobo to Walmart, Target, Books A Million, all the places. I like to, obviously, we support independent bookstores as independent authors. But what I started doing was when Christmas Camp first came out, I had the Christmas Camp Hallmark movie. Then I wrote the book. And it's all about a girl that goes to, she's kind of a grump and she's an advertising exec. And when I mean a grump, she's more grinchy about she doesn't do Christmas, she doesn't have time, she's a workaholic. And so when all of a sudden she wants a big account to get the next big promotion, it's a Christmas and it's dolls, Christmas, an annual Christmas doll. And she's so not into any of that, but she wants the promotion. So she pitches to her boss, she wants the account. And the boss is like, you're not the right fit. So she says, please, please, please. And bottom line, he said, okay, smart boss, you go to Christmas camp, get a certificate that you graduated from Christmas camp, and I'll let you pitch the Christmas dolls. And she's like, Chris, what do you mean a certificate? So she thinks she's just going to go to this place. And what it is you disconnect to reconnect with what matters most at Christmas. So you turn in your phone. You're not supposed to be on your computer. And there's all these Christmas activities that will help you remember the true meaning and magic of Christmas. And her name's Haley. She goes in and she has this list it has to be checked off so she can get signed off and take it back to her boss. So she's thinking, I can do instead of a weekend, I can do all these in 8 hours. But of course, the dad that's running the Christmas camp has a very handsome son played by Bobby Campo, who comes in and is like, calls, referee on it. No. You don't rush through Christmas camp. No. But in the meantime, I introduce an ensemble cast. Now, the funny part about this is I wrote a Hallmark Christmas movie for Hallmark that ended up on Netflix. That's A Christmas Prince. It was Netflix's first original Christmas movie that they did. So it got a lot of attention because it was a very Hallmark style, because guess who wrote it for Hallmark? So then I wrote Christmas Camp, because now I'm on Netflix, my one and only place that I'm at. I write Christmas Camp thinking Netflix, because it has an ensemble cast. Whenever you have more people, it's more expensive to shoot. Netflix generally has a lot higher budgets than Hallmark, 2 or 3 times higher, or sky's the limit. They could have bazillions of dollars there. So what do you think? If I write a movie for Hallmark, it ends up on Netflix. What do you think happens when I write a movie for Netflix? It ends up on Hallmark, just because that is the crazy. So all of a sudden I have these other people that come to Christmas camp, and one of them's a mom, and she's a widower, and her son is in Afghanistan. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out the inspiration for that. I have a dad who is a single dad for the first year with 2 tweens. He doesn't know what to do with these kids. They're fighting, their brother and sister. No Christmas spirit. And we have this lovely couple that has just been married, but one thing they never really checked on is how they celebrate Christmas. And they have very different ways of celebrating, and they're going to have to merge families and traditions. So it's this ensemble cast, and it's really about the activities and what happens. So long and short, when this came out, a lot of people were tweeting, I wish there was a real Christmas camp. I wish there was a place I could go to relax and reconnect with my Christmas spirit, so you could be your best self. So that's when I decided to create one. I trademarked Christmas Camp. So I have, when you're on my website, you can go to the Christmas Camp store. I have everything from just like you're wearing with Rama Drama. I actually told the girls where to go to get the t-shirts. I don't know if they use the same place. Mine's on Zazzle, but I have like my little Christmas Camp hat. That's my logo. I love my logo because the little Christmas has a star on it. I don't know if you can see it, but I have t-shirts, mugs. I have all of that. The reason I trademarked it is because I partner with resorts. So I have resorts all around the world and hotels and destinations that I do these Christmas camps. So when I came to Rama Drama, it was like what we call a pop-up. That event was all about meeting the actors and learning about writing movies and all of that. And so I just did a quick, hi, I'm Christmas Camp, and I do a giveaway, and it's just a fun hour event. But when I do Christmas Camp, the full event.
I got a Christmas camp mug from you.
You did. You got one of the coveted mugs. Oh my goodness.
You know, to pick a pie. I take the mug.
Oh my gosh. See, that's what I do. I'm known as Christmas Karen. So all I do is give away, which is why you have to follow me on social media. Because I literally, oh, by the way, Goodreads right now, I'm giving away, Goodreads? Yes, Goodreads. I'm saying it right. There's 3 signed autograph copies, totally free. Enter. I'm always, it's a little overwhelming because on my social media sites, I'm always giving away fun things. And when I do Christmas camps, like Kat got the mug. But what I did is I created them at hotels where I bring in now I have all these different movies and books. I have like, gosh, I don't know what, 15 different Christmas stories. So every year, whatever the new story is, I incorporate that in Christmas camp. So the first year we had, it was like a soft opening. And then 2019, we sold out 400 hotel room nights in a half hour. We had 200 people come to the Phoenician in Phoenix, Arizona, a luxury property. And it's the kind of thing where you don't have to come for 10 nights, but it's over 10 nights and you look at the calendar and go, I want Thursday, Friday. And on Thursday, Friday, here's all the activities from morning, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything from Christmas karaoke at night to we're going to do, we're going to do all these different Christmas activities. And it's different every day. So people come for a day, people come for a week, some people came for 10 days, which is a lot. So this year I had a bunch of things planning and I had one ready to announce. I was so excited, but because I want it perfect, because what happened is 2019, I had like 5 scheduled for 2020. In Germany, because remember that travel show I did? So guess what? I'm bringing my travel knowledge so I can go to the Christmas markets. I can go to Paris. I know the hotels. They know me. So I bring in the Christmas camp programming and you come and then maybe it has the Paris twist. What are Paris traditions? Or even in the South, Atlanta versus Michigan, what we're doing. So I had one ready to go, but during COVID, I had 5 ready to go. What happened after COVID happened. So I haven't done a Christmas camp. I just did one at the library, meaning these pop-up events. I do them a lot, especially promoting Christmas and my books and all of that because it's so much fun. But in terms of the hotel properties, because that's a lot, I wanted to wait till it was perfect. And there were some things that were going on and I just felt like, let's just wait one more year. But I already have 4 Christmas camps. I can't say too much, but hopefully the first one will be in July. Coming up. So that's only 6 months away. So I'll be able to tell you guys. So I have 4 different Christmas camps that are in the works.
Make sure
it'll be so much
fun
fun.
and it all works out. And then hopefully
you'll
be able to announce it. And hopefully
I want you to be one of my Christmas campers.
One of them and just to see what the hype is about.
Let me tell you, and you know what people say, it's if you love Christmas movies, it's like you're living in a Christmas movie, which is another reason. So go onto my website. I mean, because it's experience. You're not just going and meeting people, you're living in it from your hotel room to every day. But so on my website, I told this whole story. So, okay, we can't go to a Christmas camp this year, but I have a Christmas camp DIY guide. And it's right on my website and you download it for free. I think it's up to 24 pages where every book I put my recipes, I put like Christmas activities for you. And every year it's new. Some people go, Karen, I downloaded it in 2019. Well, now tons have been added to it since. I also, till November 10th, you can get free bookmarks and free book plates. And that's where it's a sticker that I sign. So I could say Kat and, Merry Christmas, and I'll sign it for you. So some people just sent me, one person sent me 10 that she wanted because she wants to give them as Christmas gifts, either her coloring book or the book or both.
Very nice.
So that's smart because then it's autographed. So that's there. So go to my website, make sure you click on, and the biggest thing is sign up for the newsletter because when we do Christmas camp, it sells out really fast. And the newsletter VIPs, I only send stuff when it's new. I might send 2 or 3 a year. I'm not an author that sends it a month because we're busy. I want it to be when I get it, y'all are like, yay, what do we have? But before I forget, because I know I'm going to forget. So here's the inside secret. Which one is it? Okay, can you see this one? Not quite. Well, let me grab this one for you. Love Always Christmas was last year's Christmas book, okay? This one is really special. This was Amazon #1 bestseller, Barnes & Noble #1 bestseller. So when I do a book, I do a soft cover, hardcover, audiobook, and I do an ebook. And so I put a couple of my ebooks, my first ones, into Kindle Unlimited. And if you don't know what that is on Amazon, you pay a price and you get it for free. So that means it's basically I make it available to all of you for free. And so I decide every year if I'm going to do that. And so this year, I have not told anyone yet, but if you go in the next week or so and you're interested in getting this book, and it's also, the ebook is $9.99. So when I put it in Kindle Unlimited, let's say you're like, well, Karen, I'm not Kindle Unlimited, so I'm not going to get it for free. I make the ebook $4.99. And then I usually do some kind of a 1 week of a really good price, like 99 cents or something, because it's the holidays. So no one knows that. So if you haven't read that book, it's going to be in Kindle Unlimited. And it's kind of my Christmas gift. And what I did is I took the ebook and I added the first 3 chapters to Every Day is Christmas. So that way you can read the first 3 chapters of it and go, oh, I really like that one. I want to get that one too. You know, it's a smart way if you're new to my books to see if you really like it before you invest. You know, you're like, hey, I don't want to spend $9.99. I'm not sure if I'm going to like your
I
writing.
buy all of the books on the spot because I know I would like it. So.
Oh, you are so kind. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and I just found out my audiobook. So this year, usually my audiobook is released the same day. It's going to be released November 21st. Obviously, that's later. October 10th is when the book came out. But it's because I have 2 of the best audio narrators in the whole wide world. I haven't announced, I can't say more. But remember, we didn't talk about this book was inspired by the movie. And this movie starred Toni Braxton, multi-Grammy winner Toni Braxton. And so she's the star. So I wanted narrators that were African-American, just like Toni, and meaning somebody that represented the diversity. And, you know, this story has diversity. We have, you know, all different folks, but I didn't, you know, I really wanted somebody that it's really hard when you have to be Toni's voice. I mean, even though it's an audio, but Toni is Toni Braxton. I just wanted to honor it. And I just wanted to also make sure that they were people that would, you know, really be able to embody the story. So I literally have the 2 top, and I say this, I mean, they're amazing, you know, African-American artists, but forget that, over the board of any artist, they're top in their game. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter what nationality they are or what culture they are from, they're top, they're the best. So it's going to be big news when I announce. So if you my audio, some people have been reaching out going, where's your audiobook? It's coming, and it's going to be amazing. And I got to have 2 actors. Usually there's 1 actor playing the male and 1 actor playing everybody. I got to have a male, female, and it's going to be amazing. So I thank you for letting me share all of that. And I know, I don't know how we're doing on time, you know, but let me know because I can
soon, but I'll give it a few more minutes and we'll wrap up with enough.
But yeah, well, you have your speed questions for me, don't you? Are you going to ask me your speed questions? Yeah. You do this to everyone. Do I have to be ready? Oh no, this is hard.
Basically, talk about the Christmas book, and other than that, I was thinking like one thing. Hopefully, you ever find a good answer. But have you ever even thought about or try a non-Christmas novel or movie? I mean, I know sometimes you try to start it, then bam, you go to Christmas one-way street. Christmas
No, I'm so glad you asked me because it's so funny. My original, I had a contract that I was going to do where I write a Christmas and a summer romance every year, right? Do both. But because Christmas was Christmas and all the things I've told you, I really went down that rabbit hole. But now I am doing both. I actually have a movie being looked at by a top production company I never can say, but it's a romantic comedy. It has international travel in it because it's like kind of like the life of a travel writer, but it's somebody that's gone a kind of, I don't want to say too much, but she's pretending to be somebody she's not, and she's taking all these fabulous trips. So it's amazing. So that one, and I wrote a TV pilot. And for my fans of Christmas Prince, it has a royal take on it. And I say it's Schitt's Creek.
I love royal movies, so I'm good for that.
It's like Schitt's Creek meets Succession. So it has family drama because we're talking royal family. Obviously, there's a nod to, you know, our real royal family, Prince Harry, Prince William, and it's 2 sisters instead of 2 brothers. So that's a TV pilot that I'm looking at. But the answer is yes, I love Christmas, but I have lots more in my repertoire that now I'll get to play with. And hopefully I'll be talking to you in the summertime, not just in the wintertime, about something new coming up. So thank you for asking that.
Yeah, we'll definitely make a plan for a summer podcast, winter podcast, whatever. So I'll try to reach out to anybody who I've already interviewed. Now you got a couple of new movies under the belt. Can we reach out, get together, talk about it? Because I believe I'm due for another podcast with my beautiful friend, Benjamin Aries. So hopefully fingers crossed will be December. I know he's my first one, but hopefully he'll come back. Hopefully he'll be able to come back for the Cash Chat podcast in December. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, pretty much whatever we discussed tonight was just all about your new book. and your new coloring book and the purpose behind it, and along with Christmas Cap and how they were transformed from a book into a movie by Hallmark, by Lifetime, by Netflix, and learning about the experience from a young child up until now, about becoming an author, about becoming a news anchor, about becoming a reporter, and boom, you're a writer. So I feel like we're similar in some ways because I'm a teacher, I'm also
Yes.
a writer, and I'm also an artist. I like to draw. So those are kind of my therapies. And like you said, where I get all of my shooting going, all of my creativity, I do it sometimes at night. And if I'm not working and I'm at home, sometimes I do it at night. My kids are sleeping, but they're going, okay, I'm gonna do a couple of pages, I'm gonna put it up, or it's in the middle of the day. I'm like, oh, I got them, I'm gonna put it up, I'm gonna add something. I'm like that with my IDPs. I open one up, I start typing, I go back, I go to another student, I'm typing, I'm going back and forth. So this week and last week, I was working on 3 different IDPs. I'm like, okay, I think I'm done. I'm going over here. I'm like, oh, wait,
Yes.
I forgot about this. So I'm like all over. So
I have a
I
question for
know
you.
about the writing process, the creativity, the that. What's your question?
I have a question because remember I told you Randall Wallace changed my life when he asked me the question, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So I want to pay it forward and ask you that question in case it sparks something in you. So right now, without thinking too much, just what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail?
Well, what I would do if I would never fail?
Yes, if you knew you would not fail at it, what would you do if you knew you would not fail, that you would succeed? Meaning there's no fear, there's no worry. What's the one passion you have that you would do right now if you could be guaranteed that you'd be successful?
Finish my book.
Okay,
I
that's
want to
good.
finish my book because I have a few more pages that need more details and more description just to bring out the story. And then I have to find an illustrator. So that's those 2 posts
Oh,
to my friend Schaler and Kalia, who is also part of the bundle game. She told me she would connect me with one of her friends who is the illustrator from a book. So I'm working on that. So I just gotta get that post done. And then do the next
exactly.
step.
Now, do you remember I told you about the Wolf Pack? So Entertainment Business School, we call it the Wolf Pack, and it's all about meeting people and you never know. So now, Kat, I've always considered you in my Wolf Pack. And also in my Wolf Pack, I have one of the top children's illustrators that I know. So now by you telling me, oh, I'm working on a children's book, I might need an illustrator, I can also introduce you to an illustrator when you're interviewing people. And that way, that's what the Wolf Pack is. You know, we might have Brady on or Kelsey on, you know, and our lovely interpreters tonight that have worked so hard, because anyone that can keep up with what I'm saying deserves 7 blue ribbons, you know,
Thank you,
truly.
guys. I did warn
So,
them before the interview that
oh, they should. It's
but
like a whole nother
that
level.
will manage.
It's a lot. I apologize because I talk so fast and I get excited, you know, and I tell myself, Karen, slow down. I'll put notes, Karen, slow down. But I want you to know, Kat, that I can introduce you to that. But back when we were talking about one thing I want to make sure people know, I mean, Kat, what you've overcome with your ability to overcome is so inspiring to me. And it's why I will always be there to support you, because I support people who support themselves and give back, you know? And you're amazing. And what you're doing here by having 2 interpreters, it's not easy to schedule all of this to make sure that everyone, you know, folks that can hear this, absolutely great, but folks that need the interpreters, you're including them. And it's why it's so important to me to reach as many people as possible. And for all of you out there, you know, that are listening or you're watching, it just means the world to me to have someone like Kat, you know, and be so inspiring, I hope, to everyone. It just shows we literally, it sounds like a Christmas movie, but I live by this. We can do anything. Anything is possible. We have to believe, and we have to work really hard and surround ourselves with the right people. But you're in the right place. You know, Kat's going to bring on inspiring, amazing people in her podcast. And I'm not, saying I'm one of them. I'm just saying I know who she is as a human, and she really cares about all of you watching and listening. And so I want to say I've been practicing. So I want to make sure if I'm on frame. Okay, so wait, I'm trying to move my camera back. I'll cut off my head. We don't care about my head. Okay, so.
You click me.
Did they do it?
Click me.
Yay!
Good job.
Oh.
Okay.
And then it's like, oh, the lights went out. It was very, my little light went out. It's very Christmassy. They're like, you're done, Karen. Moving on.
All right. Well, I wanted to say, before we wrap it up, I have a little bit of a give back to the band and friends and people out there. I will make a post after this on my Instagram post on my Cat One account and the Cat Chat podcast. I received the package from Karen, so I have my own copy of Everyday Christmas. I have my own copy of the coloring book, and then about a week before I got the box, I ordered off of Amazon, not thinking that you would give me a package. So everybody out there, I have an extra book.
Oh my gosh, that's so! I was just going to say, I was just going to say I could do it.
So my Instagram post will be about anybody could join. Anybody will make a comment about Christmas. The question will be why do you like Christmas? What is your favorite Christmas tradition? And how do you describe Christmas?
I love that.
Any favorite Christmas Hallmark movie, Lifetime movie, Netflix movie, any Christmas book you like, or Christmas memory that holds you by your heart, or share with the family. Put them all in the comments that I put there. Whoever enters or drop a comment on either one of my social media accounts, Ron Cat Ron, or the Cat Chat podcast, I will leave it open today Wednesday. I will leave it open until Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central. And then
now you have to have time to get this. Yeah.
Santa hat. Yes. And then I will pick a name, and the person will win a copy of Karen Schaler new book, Everyday Christmas.
Well, I want to say something now. How soon are you getting the podcast up? Should we extend the time a little? Because you have to still get the podcast up, right?
I have to upload it tonight. Normally I look at it, I trim the beginning and I trim the end, and I could probably upload it by tomorrow.
Oh, good. Oh, see, look at this cat. It's fast. Most people take a week. I'm like, they need time.
I was kind of happy with the second chance thing because of all the stuff that said and it didn't work out. So I was like, okay, that's great, because I don't know how to edit in the middle of the podcast.
Oh my goodness. Well, this ended up
at the beginning.
I know. I want to add something too, because you've been so generous. I sent you that for you, and you had already supported me. So let's make it even more fun. We'll pick 2 winners, and I will send the other winners a coloring book and the book. So we'll have double the prizes. So we'll have 2 prizes. You'll send your book, and I will send a coloring book and book from my end too.
Wow, did you hear that? So that's a double the prize. We will choose 2 winners. So one will be receiving Karen's book and Karen's coloring book, and one will be receiving my extra copy. But this one is not signed because it's from Amazon. The other book that Karen gave me is personally for me. So this will be your prize. So I will do a post very soon, and then good luck.
And what we'll do for whoever wins the not signed book, I'll just get their address, because those book plates I told you, and I'll sign it. So they'll get a signed book, even if not. But Kat, I want to thank you. I want to thank Brady. I want to thank Kelsey, honestly, for having me on, for supporting writers like myself, actors like Andrew, and everybody, you know, that you have. Thank you for what you're doing. And thanks to all of you who are listening and who are watching, because we do this for you, and this connection, it means the world to me. So thank you for all your support, and Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Again, thank you very much, Karen, for being here again tonight. Giving up an hour and 40 minutes, which is great. I wanted to reach out to all the writers, guilds. I appreciate your hard work, and I'm so happy the strike is over for you guys, and you were able to reach out the agreement and terms. And for my actors friends, I'm still with you. I wear my t-shirt at least once a week to show my support for the SAG opera, and hopefully one day soon it will come to an agreement of terms where it will make everybody happy. The directors, all these people, my fellow actor fans and Hallmark fans, Lifetime fans, people out there. So I'm standing with you. I'll be praying. I will be thinking. Hopefully it will wrap up soon. So please go ahead and follow Karen Schaler on Instagram and check out her website, and check my website out on YouTube and both of my social media accounts. Hit the follow, hit the subscribe. Merry Christmas, guys. All right. Thank you, Karen. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.